Alright, what's going on, everybody? This is Lee Van Dam here. Third time is the charm because I've been playing around with the new format, and I want to go ahead and give you this guide that I've put together for the Demon Hunter I'm building. There's one or two builds. I'm going to do another build for Demon Hunter during the season, but I've had a lot of fun with it, with the set they've given us, so I wanted to show it to you. And I'm trying a new format so that way you can see some gameplay while I'm giving you an overview. And I finally think I've gotten it where I want it to be, so I'm really excited about that. If you have any comments about this, let me know in the comment section below. Let me know on YouTube as well, because I really would love your feedback, so that way I can make this even better, because getting used to some new streaming software, and I think it's really cool, and I'm hoping to just bring higher quality videos to you. But without further ado, so this is going to be my build for Impale, because Impale is the star of the Shadow Mantle set that you get. Now, you get this set if you go through Journey mode, and this is your first character. You can pick this set up for Demon Hunter all the way through. Makes it real easy. This set immediately gives you easy access to at least Torment 8 or above, and then once you have a build that's doing stuff, you can really have it shine, just because of the high damage that Impale's doing. It's going to really cover up some gaps. But the way this build works, it is really close, it's really in your face. You're going to be using Impale for almost all of your damage. Chakram is there for damage reduction and to help create a crit bonus from Broken Promises, but Impale's a star, so you're going to be throwing Impale all the time. You're going to be vaulting all the time to get out of dodge. And so I just want to go over everything with you, starting with the skills, then we'll go over the gear, we'll go over the whole game plan, and we'll play around. I'm going to run through a rift because I did that earlier, and that was pretty easy stuff to show everything off. So let's go ahead and we'll get this switched over so we can talk about the build. Alright, so I'm back in town because I just finished the rift, so let me go ahead and clear that.
Your skill has grown.
Great. So let's start with the skills. Like I said, Impale is the star. It's star because of the set, so we'll go into everything and how it gels together in more detail in a second. But you've got Impale. You're going to be chucking knives a lot. That's what you're going to be doing. Just lots of knives. And I've got this one where it ricochets to nearby enemies, because that's what's going to help us keep our hatred up. You can even use the cold one that does the dagger where it throws it through a line, because that'll do the same thing, and in a lot of cases it may do it better, because if you can get the mobs lined up, then you can get even more hits, which means you'd get more hatred back from your gear, which I'll talk about in a second. Chakram normally costs hatred, and this build is not. I'm going to tell you about that in a second, but I've got the Razor Disc because it always hits its target that you're clicking on, and then it spirals out from there, so it can hit more targets from that. Twin Chakram is a good pick because it gives you a wide area if you're far away to throw Chakrams at. The other ones are pretty good too, but these are the ones I've found the most success with, because you need to get as many Chakrams out as possible so you can trigger Broken Promises, so that way your Impales are killing everything in sight. Phantom Knives, the other attack skill, because you're mainly using it for the armor bonus, so you can stay alive. Bolt gets out of the way. Trail of Cinders, just so you can get a little bit of extra damage, especially when the high crit chance is up, even though it's the DOT. It's also going to activate damage reduction from Elusive Ring. We'll talk about that in a second. And you're going to be able to vault all the time, just like you saw in the video, because we have the gear set up, so you won't have to worry about running out of discipline, and I'll show you how. It's really easy. Shadow Power is also a star of the Shadow Mantle set, so it's going to give you everything. So by everything, it means that it's going to cost 8 discipline, but that doesn't matter because the set makes it last forever, which I'll read to you in a second. Gives you movement speed decrease whenever you activate it for all your mobs. So everything around you will have 80% movement reduction, so it helps you get out of the way in case it's the last minute thing. It'll also activate Elusive Ring, which I'll talk about in a second. More life per hit, damage reduction right out the gate, and movement speed. So it's doing it all. It's really, really good. Okay, and Mark for Death, it's on there because when you mark a mob, it gives you 20% extra damage, but that 20% damage is going to be split up against everything within 20 yards. The reason you want to do this is because it's going to help you create a nice little AoE, and I'll talk about that in a second as well. Alright, so those are the skills. Passive, ambush, more damage when they're at high health, so that way that Impale that crits deals a lot more damage. Steady aim, so when you're far away you're dealing more damage. Awareness, so if they do kill you, you get a second chance to get out of the way. That's cool. Blood Vengeance, it's more hatred, gives you hatred whenever you get a health globe. Discipline is there too. Discipline's not going to be as necessary because a lot of times you're not going to be using discipline at all. So those are all the skills and all the passives. Let's talk about the gear because the gear is really going to make a lot of stuff happen. Alright, so starting off with the Shadow Mantle. Fun 6-piece set. I talked about it in the PTR that I wanted to play Melee Demon Hunter. This is as close as you're going to get because they didn't give really any melee animations or stuff, but hey, that's fine. Throwing knives, throwing chakrams, it's cool. So, 2-piece. When you equip with a melee weapon, your damage is increased by 600%. 6 times multiplier for your damage. Easy. 4-piece. Shadow Power gains the effect of every rune, lasts forever. I know I talked about that in skills, but that's what it does. 6-piece. Impale deals an additional 40,000% weapon damage to the first enemy it hits. So the first enemy that it hits is going to be like, especially on crit, take a few billion. So that's a lot. And it's going to improve as you get better gear, as you get more critical hit damage and all that good stuff. So it's going to get even better. So think about it. If you hit a mob for 8 billion, so let's do the math real quick. So I got my calculator here just because I don't have any paper to write on. But you hit a mob for 8 billion. %20 of that is going to be spread out over all the mobs within 20 yards. So 20% of 8 billion. So 1.6 billion damage is going to be spread out to everybody else. So that's why the AoE potential is so cool, because everything around that mob is going to take a lot of damage. And if you're critting all the time, aka during those 3 seconds of broken promises, if you could crit that marked mob a lot, everything around it is going to die. It's awesome. Everything else is going to just take a lot of damage too. So that's where this build is going to function. At higher level, when you've got like 50% crit chance and you're just almost every other Impale is going to crit regardless, it's just going to mow stuff down. And so it's one of those things that is just going to annihilate it. And that's why this build is real execution heavy, because you're going to be marking and you're going to be impaling a lot. And so you're going to be clicking, you're going to be marking, you're going to be doing a lot of stuff during the build. So it's going to be mostly gear, but there's going to be a good bit of execution to go along with it to make sure that the build works to its full potential. I've not mastered it yet, but I'm getting there. I'm getting there and it's working. So that's the damage piece. The other things to complement the damage is when you're using Chakram, I've got Sword of Ill Will, so it gives you increased damage for every point of hatred that you have. So that way at 175, if you're getting almost 200% damage increase to Chakram, just to help it keep up. Because you want it to do a lot of damage too whenever you're using it, of course. And to complement that, Chakram deal generates 3 hatred, so that's why it's a hatred generator, and that's why you're able to use it to trigger some of your damage reduction, which I'm going to go into right now because that's the other piece of the puzzle, is your damage reduction, so that way when you get in the really high level rifts, how are you going to stay alive? This is how. So first thing, Wraps of Clarity. Hatred generators reduce your damage taken by 35% for 5 seconds. This is really big. Chakram activates this, so you can have it up all the time since it activates it for free. It doesn't cost any resources. You just throw a chakram. For 5 seconds, you've got the damage reduction. You'll want to keep this up. And you're going to get into a rhythm where you're throwing a chakram and doing that after you start impaling, because at the beginning, you'll use chakram to set up the broken promises, so your first impale deals a lot of damage. And then after that, you'll just be kind of clicking around between the two. Okay. Other piece of damage reduction is going to come from Traveler's Pledge. Well, while you're moving, you're going to get a buff that increases all the way till it gets 50, which is 50 is the maximum damage reduction you can get. When you're standing still, it's going to help your damage. So it's really, really interesting. So while you're standing still, the buffs are going to switch, as you can see on the screen right now, to where you get up to 100%. So it's going to help you deal up to double damage while you're standing still. So when you're chilling out in front of that Greater Rift boss, your impales are going to do double what they're normally doing because you'll get that extra damage boost. It's crazy. It's really good. The other piece of the damage reduction that you've got is Aquila Cuirass. So let's talk about the powers, because that's what's going to be the other parts of this. Aquila Cuirass, the reason I have it as a power is because it gives you the best version of the power. So while above 90%, for a resource, all damage taken is reduced by 50%. Well, Chakram is a hate generator, so you don't have to worry about that. So your damage is going to be reduced by 50 while you're using Chakram. And we're going to keep Impale from using too much hatred, because Carly's Points power is going to give you back 15 hatred if it hits an enemy that's already impaled. So let's say you hit one guy, it ricochets, hit somebody else. So those two now are going to give you back hatred if you hit them with this Impale again. This is what's going to keep Impale from using too much hatred, so that way you can really take advantage of Aquila's Cuirass often. So you'll want to try to target the same person as often as possible, or that same group, so that way you're always hitting someone in that group that's been impaled before, so that way you're not using too much hatred. Elusive Ring's the last piece of the puzzle for damage reduction. So Elusive Ring, after casting Shadow Power, Smokescreen, or Volt, you take 60% reduced damage for 8 seconds. Okay, so right now I'm at 30 million toughness on paper. When I activate Shadow Power, Elusive Ring's going to go off, but then Shadow Power is going to stay. So you can see the 35% damage reduction increase from that. So let's activate that. 115 million, and then once the Elusive Ring wears off, you're at 46. So that's the damage reduction from Shadow Power. Okay. Next, you've got Phantom Knives armor increase. So it gives you 58 million when you don't have Elusive Ring on, but when you vaulted or you Shadow Powered and you've got Elusive Ring on, you have a lot of toughness to deal with stuff with all the damage reduction here. That's not counting when you're moving around, you're going to have extra damage reduction from that set, and it's not counting Clarity Wraps either, see? So you can deal with a lot of damage. You just have to actively keep these buffs up, and that's going to be the execution part, is just really keeping the buffs up so you can stay alive to deal the damage with Impale, to kill everything. So higher levels is not going to be about the damage, because the damage is already there. The higher level is always about being able to stay alive and mitigate what the mobs are doing in order to be able to kill them, because that's the nature of the game now. And so I'm going to go ahead and take us through a rift really quickly. I was trying to keep that short because I just want to go over the game plan. Game plan really is you throw chakrams till Broken Promises hits. Once the buff's up, you start impaling, and then at that point you really just start impaling all the time and you keep Chakram for the damage reduction, Phantom Knives for the damage reduction. You can time it while the crit's going on, so you crit Phantom Knives. Of course, you can do all that, but you know that's what's it. And you're just going to be marking and impaling, because we want the AOE to work for us. We want that AOE to put in some serious work. We'll turn down the mic and turn up the audio, so that way the clicking is not so loud. And let's go.
Enemies of the left around.
been waiting. Your fear betrays you! Not ready yet. I'm in need.
Look at that thing over there. Let's kill it.
Overburdened. I can't carry any more. Survive that! Bleed, you filth! Overburdened. I can't carry any more. returning to town.
I've got some brand new goods you might be.
Fate smiles on you today. Maybe you can find a use
My
for that.
pack is full.
Someday.
I need to go back.
Switch volume back. Alright, some things that I didn't talk about in the guide, but I should have, and I'm sorry about that. I messed it up a little bit, but so along with everything else we talked about, we've got a couple of things that are helping us in the department as far as damage reduction. Taeguk is big because Taeguk is going to give us damage reduction while we're throwing Impale. So the longer we stay in battle, we're going to become more resilient with Taeguk. Right now, it stacks up to 25% extra damage reduction, but this is the one I'm going to be leveling because this is what's going to keep me alive even more at higher level. So it's going to keep me alive more higher level, and that's what's most important. But you know, I really appreciate you guys coming by. Thank you so much. And you know, I'm about to do some runs so I can level after I eat, but I'll be back soon. And just be sure to subscribe so that way you can check out all the content. I try to make a lot of highlights, but I know Twitch has changed since I've been gone, so now I gotta be more proactive about highlights so I don't lose all the broadcasts. So I'll do that too. But check me out on YouTube. A lot of stuff that I did for Mortal Kombat on YouTube while I had this hiatus, but I'm back and I'm looking forward to putting together some really great stuff for Tekken, for Diablo, and for Street Fighter, along with the RPG that I'm playing at the moment right now, which is Last Remnant. And Last Remnant is really cool. But appreciate you guys again so much. This is Lee Van Dam. Until next time, you guys take care, and God bless.